It's very nice to be here. My name is Francesco Saverio, but everybody calls me Saverio, and I'm a PhD candidate at the European University Institute in Florence. So you might notice that I streamlined the title a bit. I mean, this is obviously due to the fact that I am time constrained, but I also think that is more focused now. It's more clear what I want to talk about in this paper. Namely, I want to talk about how working from home might impact intergenerational mobility and more broadly inequality. Okay, so let's try to set the stage and the framework that I want to analyze. So I don't think I have to convince anybody here that working from home is going to stay. I think this is very clear from the presentation we have already seen. And I think there is also another important point that has been made in these 2 days of conference, meaning that working from home is unevenly distributed across workers. In particular, what I'm interested about is that working from home is mostly available for highly educated workers in high-income jobs. Now, if you think that these people are probably already advantaged in transmitting their skills towards the new offspring, what are the implications of working from home in the long term for inequality and intergenerational mobility? So this is more or less what this paper wants to talk about. And obviously, it's a model question because it's a little bit ahead of the data. However, I'm going to try to convince you that there are two clear channels through which working from home might have intergenerational effects that can also already be visible in the data. And I'm going to show you some patterns in microdata through the American Time Use Survey and the American Community Survey to inform my model. In particular, the first mechanism that I have in mind is an education time reallocation mechanism. So we know from the education of economics literature that college people, educated people, on average, spend more time educating their children, anticipating the struggle of making it through the academic career. And if you think about the fact that working from home people might save some time from commuting, they can spend this time productively educating their children more. So this is the first mechanism I have in mind, but I also have in mind the second mechanism, which is related to the donut effect. The fact that with the couple jobs from the office place, which means that now people can relocate towards suburbs, but might also relocate towards places with better schools. So here, what I'm plotting are averages. It's just to give you an idea. These are just the descriptive evidence of education time with children. So the education time is something that I code myself from the American Time Use Survey. And it's basically a variable that embeds both direct academic supports of parents over children, like doing homework together, and cognitively enriching activities with children, like, for instance, going to the museum, reading together, this sort of stuff. So the only thing I want you to grasp from these graphs is that, first, the magnitude. So on average, people spend 1 to 1.1 hour educating their children. And then there is a gradient that of working from home parents spending more time educating their children, which is, I mean, clearly, sorry, I don't know the pointer, but here. So it's clearly happening for working from home versus not working from home, but it's stable across different specifications. So in heterogeneous analysis on gender, education, and youngest child age. Now, obviously, this is just descriptive. So what I do, I also run a regression, but I'm going to be clear about it. Like, I don't want any causality police to hate me, so it's not causal effect, but I see a pattern here. And what I do, I regress weekly education time of parents with children on a bunch of controls plus a working from home dummy. And what I found, it's a significant effect that is robust to different specification of about a quarter of an hour additional education time that parents spend with children. Now let's go to the second mechanism. I'm trying to be fast, I'm sorry, but my time is limited today. So the second mechanism is something that we want to understand, right? So are working from home parents relocating towards neighborhood with better school? So in order to answer this question, I take the microdata from the American Community Survey post-COVID of parents with children between 5 to 15, and I merge this data with the school quality data from a Chetty and co-author dataset. Then I estimate this probit model where I regress the probability of a parent moving towards a neighborhood with a better school quality on a bunch of controls and a working from home dummy. Again, these are patterns, but what I find is that on average, working from home parents are 3.3 to 3.7 percentage point more likely to relocate towards neighborhood with better schools. Now, with these two mechanisms in mind, I build a model to study the effect on inequality and intergenerational mobility. In this model, I have a two-period overlapping generation spatial model which in some sort is also similar to the one that Michael presented yesterday. So in my model, agents live for 2 periods. In the first period, there's just children. They are not taking any active decisions. They passively accumulate human capital. In the second period, they become adults, and they take a lot of decisions in terms of location, where to live, in terms of labor supply, how much labor to supply, housing, consumption, and time allocation, especially education time with children decision. So in my model, agents are heterogeneous in 3 key dimensions. One is the ability to accumulate human capital. The second, the human capital itself, that in my models, it's somehow a productivity at work. And the third dimension, is the working from home availability. Like this dimension in my model is exogenous. So somebody is lucky and is born with the possibility to do working from home, and somebody is not. Obviously, I can talk more how I estimate this probability and how I calibrate my model with this. But now, just stay with me with this assumption. Then parents take decision where to live, meaning that they can decide to live in a central business district or in a suburb. They are different in terms of rents, commuting time, and crucially about the spillover effect of neighborhood, which I'm going to talk about in the very next moment. In fact, there are 2 key technologies in my model. One is the working from home technology, which basically parents that are working from home, they can decide intensively how much hour to allocate towards office hours or home office hours through a CES. So I treat these 2, the choice variable, as imperfect substitutes. And the second technology is this endogenous human capital accumulation of the children, which is a linear function of the ability of the children times the Cobb-Douglas between E, which is the education time of the parent of the children, and S of Z. Z is the location, so suburb of, or CBD. S is basically what I call the neighbor spillover, which is a proxy for school quality and is the expected human capital of children in that neighborhood. So this basically is more or less the 2 mechanisms I was talking about. One is the education time of parents, and the other one is the sorting effect in 2 different neighborhoods. So let me jump to the results. As I was mentioning, in my model is not only similar to the one of Michael in the framework, but also in the calibration strategy, meaning that I am assuming that in the pre-COVID we are in a steady state. I assumed this to be 2013. And then we see a working from home shock, and I computed the post-COVID steady states, and I use the pre-COVID as a counterfactual, so to speak. So what I found are 2 important effects. One is the direct within generation effect of working from home, meaning that I find that people that are working from home are 3.8 percentage points more likely to end up in the top decile of the income distribution compared to non-working from home people. This is within generation. And it's, I mean, I can talk more about it, but I think that the very interesting finding is this intergenerational effect, so across, between generation effect. What I do find is that when I look at children that are, people that are not working from home, when they had a parent that was previously working from home, they are 1.9 percentage point more likely to end up in the top decile of the income distribution. So somehow this is through these 2 mechanisms that I was talking about, education and relocation. And I'm sorry, I'm running out of time, so I just want to plot here like this CDF of these different type of people over the income, log income distribution. And basically this gap that you see, between the check curves are here in the panel A, this direct within generation effect, and here the between generation effect. Then I decompose for all 4 types. And what I found in a counterfactual is that the main driver is the education time. So when I shut down the education channels, basically the intergenerational channel almost disappear. So I'm jumping to the conclusion because I'm running really out of time. I think the only thing I want to mention is like that there are policy implications of this paper, meaning that maybe we have to ensure that the opportunity doesn't really become a perk of working from home. So thank you very much. I'm happy to take any comment. Yeah, please.
Really interesting. So 2 quick things. One, Steve may say this, but the more educate, it's a tricky thing because it increases inequality, but mainly by improving it for some, but not taking away for others. So if you were to do a welfare analysis, it's not bad.
Not clear.
The other thought, but more substantive, is just you'll find